The mansion lights were still glowing when Aaliyah stepped into the marble hallway, cradling the billionaire's toddler against her shoulder. And then, before she could even speak, Chad Wellington pointed at her like she was dirt on his floor. "Officer, that's her. The black nanny who tried to take my son." The cop's hand moved to his holster. Aaliyah froze. The child whimpered. And Chad's wife, fake crying, mascara dripping, whispered loud enough for the cameras, She planned this. She's dangerous." Flash, flash, flash. Phones came up. Reporters surged. And all Aaliyah could say was, "I was holding him because he was crying. Shut up." Chad snarled. "You people always have a story." That's when the toddler reached back for her tiny gold necklace, the one his mother hated. And suddenly, Chad's face changed, just for a second, like her necklace reminded him of a truth he hoped no one would ever discover. But he quickly snapped back into performance mode. "Arrest her," he ordered. "My security cameras have proof." The cop stepped forward. Her knees weakened. Her hands shook. She knew rich men like him never lose, especially when the accused is black and alone. And then, right as the cuffs hovered inches from her wrists, the toddler said a single word that made the entire hallway go silent. "Lioste." Reporters gasped. Chad's jaw locked. His mask cracked. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong. Something Chad never wanted the world to hear. If this already made your blood boil, tap like, and subscribe so you don't miss stories where justice finally wins. Aaliyah sat on the cold metal chair in the station lobby, the billionaire's false accusations still ringing in her ears. Hours earlier, she'd been soothing a crying toddler. Now she was being treated like a criminal. And yet, between the noise, the whispers, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, one detail kept replaying in her mind. Why did the child reach for her necklace instead of his own mother? That wasn't normal. That wasn't random. That was memory. Back at the mansion, the boy always relaxed when she hummed, always reached for her pendant, always hid behind her legs when Chad approached. Those weren't just nanny moments. Those were instinct moments. Fear, safety, attachment. But tonight, something else was off. Chad's security footage wasn't playing. His wife kept changing her story. And the toddler's shoes, Aaliyah noticed, were the wrong size, as if someone dressed him in a hurry. She replayed every detail, every tiny red flag she'd ignored. The hushed arguments behind the wine cellar door, the sudden staff firings, the midnight visitors. Chad whispering on the phone, "Wrong, kid, wrong timing." And then the one thing she never forgot, the day she found the toddler trembling in the pantry while Chad stared at him like he was staring at a problem, not a son. Why? Why was a billionaire terrified of his own child? Officer Daniels approached her desk. "Ms. Aaliyah, before we continue, anything you want to say?" She looked up. Just one thing. The mystery clicked. The boy wasn't scared of the world. He was scared of someone inside that house. "Yeah," she whispered. "The footage Chad promised you. He didn't bring it, did he?" The officer paused. "How did you know?" "Because liars panic. But guilty fathers panic worse." Aaliyah's throat tightened. She didn't have proof yet, but she had something stronger, a feeling, a mother's instinct. Inside someone who wasn't his mother. If the child wasn't afraid of her, then who was he really running from? If this happened right in front of you, what would you do? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if you stand for fairness, hit subscribe. Morning news vans swarmed Chad Wellington's mansion like vultures circling a fresh kill. By the time Aaliyah stepped outside the station, her phone was exploding with notifications she never wanted to see. Breaking. Black nanny arrested in billionaire scandal. Attempted kidnapping? Wellington family speaks out. Security footage pending, but sources say it's bad. Except there was no footage, because Chad never turned it in. Instead, he fed reporters a polished lie, standing on his marble steps with fake grief dripping from his voice. She abused our trust. Our son trusted her, and she betrayed us. His wife dabbed tears with designer handkerchief, perfectly angled for cameras. "We hired her out of kindness," she sobbed. and she tried to take him from us. Aaliyah felt her heart sink. Kindness? The same woman who called her help like a slur? But the real blow came next. A polished lawyer stepped forward holding a tablet. We have digital evidence showing this woman attempted to flee the property with a child. It will be submitted to investigators today. Aaliyah's breath caught. Digital evidence? From where? She knew that house like the back of her hand. She cleaned every corner, straightened every camera, and then she remembered. 2 days ago, Chad's tech guy spent an hour fixing the baby monitor. She wasn't allowed near it, and now they suddenly had footage. The lawyer smirked as the reporters leaned in. In the clip, you can hear her saying, "He deserves a real mother." Aaliyah staggered. "That's a lie," she whispered. But whispers don't survive against money. Chad noticed her across the street and smiled, cold, satisfied, like he'd already won. "Look at her pretending," he shouted. Arresting officers said she begged to keep the child. Aaliyah shook her head. The cops looked uncomfortable. Even reporters hesitated. Then Chad struck the deepest wound. She targeted our family because she knew we'd never suspect a black nanny with a hard luck story. A collective gasp swept across the crowd. Aaliyah clutched her pendant. The toddler once held it like a lifeline, but now it was the only thing keeping her from collapsing. Her voice cracked, but she forced it out. "I never tried to take him. I was protecting him." Reporters laughed under their breath. Headlines wrote themselves. The world chose its villain, but the child, her only piece of truth, was nowhere to be seen. And in that absence, she felt the injustice tighten around her like handcuffs all over again. Aaliyah sat alone on the bus, her hands trembling around the metal pole as the city blurred past the window. The world believed she was a kidnapper. The billionaire who destroyed her life was on every screen, every news alert, every whisper. But something wasn't adding up. Chad had money. Chad had influence. Chad had the media wrapped around his finger. So why was he so afraid of a woman he claimed was just a nanny? She replayed everything. The fake footage, the missing timestamps, the toddler calling her La, a name his own mother said she never taught him, the wrong size shoes he wore that night, the bruise she once saw on his wrist that they claimed was from a fall. And then it hit her like a lightning bolt clean through her chest. If Chad really had security footage of her kidnapping, why was the baby monitor the only camera he replaced that week? That wasn't maintenance. That was preparation. Her heartbeat slowed. Her breathing steadied. Fear began turning into clarity, into instinct, into something sharper than justice. Truth. She opened her phone and zoomed into a photo she took weeks earlier. A picture of the toddler playing in the backyard. Behind him, a window. In the reflection, Chad, holding a laptop, and the timestamp on the window clock didn't match the timestamp on the photo. He'd been altering footage long before the incident. Aaliyah whispered to herself, "He didn't frame me out of panic. He framed me because the truth about that child would ruin him." Suddenly her phone buzzed. A text, unknown number, one sentence. "I know what Chad did. Meet me tonight." Her pulse jumped. Meet who? Why now? And how did they have her number? She stared out the bus window as streetlights streaked across the glass. This wasn't a meltdown. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a cover-up, and she was a loose end they needed gone. Someone else knew the secret. Someone who might help her unravel the monster behind the mask. If you believe talent can silence every insult, share this video. And everyone watching from the US, UK, and Canada, your voice matters. Aaliyah entered the courthouse with her hood up, hands clenched, heart thundering against her ribs. She hadn't slept. She hadn't eaten. All she had was a message from an unknown number, and the hope it wasn't a trap. Inside, the air felt heavy, like everyone already decided who the villain was. Cameras flashed. Reporters whispered. Someone muttered, "That's her, the kidnapper." She kept walking. Then, from the corner of the hallway, a woman stepped out, sharp suit, press badge, eyes focused like a hawk. "You're Aaliyah, right?" Aaliyah froze. "Who are you?" "Call me Serena." I'm the one who texted you. Aaliyah's breath caught. Serena lowered her voice. I work for Chad. I know what he did. I know why he framed you. And I know exactly what he's hiding. Before Aaliyah could respond, the courtroom doors swung open and a bailiff called, Case of Wellington versus Aaliyah Brooks, proceeding. Serena grabbed her arm. Listen, Chad's son, he isn't biologically his. That's why he's panicking. That child is worth more than his entire company, and he's terrified the truth will leak. Aaliyah stumbled back. What are you saying? I'm saying Chad knows the truth, and he'll burn every nanny, every worker, every witness to keep it buried. The courtroom buzzed. Chad stood at the front, surrounded by lawyers, cameras, microphones, untouchable. When he saw Aaliyah enter, he smirked like he owned the air she breathed. The judge, a stern black woman in her 60s, adjusted her glasses. Mr. Wellington, present your evidence. Chad's lawyer stepped forward with a tablet. We have digital footage proving Ms. Brooks attempted to take the minor from the residence. But Aaliyah noticed something nobody else did. The tablet's screen flickered. Wrong resolution. Wrong file metadata. Wrong timestamp format. Those weren't live camera recordings. Those were edited clips. Her stomach twisted. They were really doing it. Forged evidence. Against her. In a courtroom. On national television. But then the judge frowned. This footage lacks authentication. Where's the original file from your security system? Chad blinked, caught off guard. My tech team is retrieving it, he said. A weak answer. Too weak. Serena whispered. He destroyed the originals. I saw him. He replaced the cameras 2 weeks ago. The judge turned to Aaliyah. Ms. Brooks, do you have anything to say before I rule on the admissibility of this evidence? Aaliyah stood, knees shaking but spine straight. Your Honor, that footage is fake. I know it, and someone in this courtroom can prove it. The crowd murmured. Chad's jaw tightened. Serena stepped forward. I can, she said, under oath. Gasps exploded through the room. Even the judge leaned back. You are a former employee. I know where the unedited files are. I know who he paid to alter them. And I know why. Chad's face drained of color. The judge's tone shifted. Mr. Wellington, this court will not tolerate manipulated evidence. If this witness is telling the truth, you may be facing additional charges. Reporters shot to their feet. Microphones clicked on. The whole courtroom turned into a pressure cooker. Chad whispered harshly to his lawyer. She wasn't supposed to be here. But Aaliyah heard it. Every word. And for the first time since the nightmare began, she felt something. Not fear, not despair, but momentum. The truth wasn't on her side yet. But the cracks in Chad's empire were finally showing. The courtroom turned into a battlefield the moment Serena took the stand. Chad's lawyer scrambled, flipping through files, whispering frantic orders. But nothing could drown out what came next. Serena spoke with a calm that shook the room. 2 weeks before the incident, Mr. Wellington ordered the replacement of all nursery cameras. He paid a private tech agent to create fabricated clips. I witnessed the transaction, and I have the technician's messages to prove it. The judge's eyes narrowed. Do you have those messages now? Serena lifted her phone. Yes, Your Honor, including the one where he writes, the nanny won't stand a chance. A gasp rolled like thunder across the room. Aaliyah felt her breath catch. That single message was the beginning of her nightmare. Chad's lawyer slammed the table. Your Honor, this witness is lying. But the judge cut him off. Sit down. A deputy transferred Serena's phone to the judge. Seconds later, the judge's expression turned cold. Not angry, not shocked, but disappointed. The kind of disappointment reserved for people who think money makes them untouchable. Mr. Wellington, she said slowly, this evidence suggests malicious intent, not only against Ms. Brooks, but against your own child. Chad opened his mouth, but the judge raised a hand. Enough. Bring the child into the room. Chad spun around. No, he doesn't need. But it was too late. A door opened. A social worker stepped in holding the toddler. The moment the little boy saw Aaliyah, he reached for her, not timidly, not fearfully, with relief, with recognition, with love. The whole courtroom saw it. And then came the moment that destroyed Chad's carefully built lie. The child buried his face into Aaliyah's shoulder and whispered the word he kept hidden from the world. Mama. A pin drop silence. A judge frozen mid-blink. Reporters leaping out of their seats. Chad staggering backward like he'd been punched. Aaliyah trembled. No, baby, no. I'm not. But the judge raised a hand. Let him speak. The boy wrapped his arms around Aaliyah's neck, clung to her, refused to go back to the social worker. And then, while everyone watched, the child's shirt shifted, a dark bruise on his ribs. Fresh, finger-shaped. The judge's voice cracked like a whip. Officer, remove Mr. Wellington from the courtroom immediately. Chad panicked. You can't do this. I'm the father. Serena rose again. No, you're not. A second witness entered. A DNA specialist, holding sealed documents. The judge opened the envelope. Her face hardened. Mr. Wellington, you are not the biological parent of this child, and you attempted to conceal this fact through fraud, intimidation, and evidence tampering. Chad lunged. That child is mine. He's mine. Deputies grabbed him. Cameras flashed. Reporters screamed questions. Aaliyah shielded the toddler, tears streaming, not from fear, but from the relief of finally being believed. As Chad was dragged away, he locked eyes with her. You think you've won? You think anyone will believe a nanny over me? Aaliyah pressed her forehead to the child's hair. For the first time, her voice didn't tremble. They already do. The judge delivered the final blow. Chad Wellington, you are hereby remanded into custody pending multiple felony charges, including child endangerment, fraud, and obstruction of justice. Court is adjourned. And just like that, the empire that tried to crush her collapsed in front of her eyes. No headlines could twist this now. No money could bury the truth. No lie could undo what the world witnessed. Aaliyah wasn't a monster. She was the reason that child was still alive. The courthouse emptied slowly, leaving only scattered footsteps and the distant hum of news vans outside. Aaliyah stepped into the hallway with the toddler still resting on her shoulder, his tiny hands clinging to her shirt like he finally felt safe. For the first time since the nightmare began, she breathed without shaking. Serena approached, voice gentler now. You saved him, she said. Aaliyah shook her head. No, he saved me. If he hadn't spoken up, I'd be in a cell right now. Serena smiled. He didn't call for his father. He didn't run to his mother. He ran to the person he trusted. That means something. Aaliyah looked down at the child, brushing a curl from his forehead. Poor baby. None of this was his fault. A social worker stepped closer, clipboard in hand. Ms. Brooks, given everything that came to light today, Child Services is placing emergency protective custody with you until the long-term placement hearing. Aaliyah froze. Me? You want me to take him? The toddler squeezed her necklace and whispered softly, Stay, Mama. Her eyes filled. She had loved children before. She had taken care of families that weren't hers. But she had never felt a bond like this. One born not out of duty, but out of survival. Out of truth. The social worker nodded. He's safest with the woman he runs to. That's you. Aaliyah took a long breath. Not of fear, not of confusion, but of courage. Outside, the world didn't look like the same place it was yesterday. Reporters weren't calling her a villain anymore. People weren't whispering. Strangers weren't looking at her with suspicion. Now they looked at her with something rare, respect. As she stepped out into the sunlight, the child resting peacefully against her, she knew Chad's empire had fallen. His lies were exposed. His power was gone. His voice was just noise now, lost behind bars. But her voice had finally been heard. Aaliyah whispered to the child on her shoulder, We're going home, a real home this time. The little boy reached up and touched her cheek. Lie safe. She smiled through tears. Yes, baby, safe. Not every story ends with a mansion or a miracle. Some end with something stronger. Two people who found each other in the ruins of someone else's lies. And for the first time in a long time, Aaliyah felt like she wasn't just surviving. She was finally free. Share this story if you believe justice should never depend on wealth. And subscribe for more racism stories the world needs to hear.